In the late 70s, Chrysler needed a miracle. Imports were dominating, gas prices were nuts, and Chrysler's big sedans drank more fuel than a frat house on keg night. So they called Europe, grabbed a French design, sprinkled in some VW engines, and boom, the Dodge Omni and Plymouth Horizon. The boxy hatchbacks that were cheap, practical, and occasionally fast, if Shelby got his hands on one. Let's dive into the square world of Chrysler's little savior. Welcome to Auto Chatter, where facts, opinion, and speculation will be given. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, please. Comment away, and let us begin. Born from Chrysler's Simca division in France with help from UK's Roots, the Omni and Horizon arrived in 1978 on the L-body platform. Chrysler had Chrysler Europe in the 70s. That was Simca, Roots, and the Spanish car maker Barrios. So they were not technically outsourcing these cars from another car maker to make them. They were Chrysler's first real front-wheel drive cars, built in Belvidere, Illinois, but based on French engineering. Team Chrysler in the U.S. had some changes made for our market for the final product here. Think of them as baguettes baked in Detroit, still French, but somehow greasier. Chrysler's financial woes in the 70s, and the new president, fresh from Ford, named Lee Iacocca, that had no interest in the European market then, led them to selling Chrysler Europe to French car maker Peugeot. So the Omni and Horizon would be a parting gift of sorts, maybe a gift no one at Chrysler knew then just how valuable they would become. These little cars had the basics: McPherson struts up front, torsion beam rear axle, front disc brakes, and a 5-door hatchback body with more straight lines than a geometry textbook. Did they have more than a passing resemblance to the VW Rabbit? I'd say so, and it was the target then anyway. Inside it was roomy and practical. Outside it was square enough to double as a moving box. Engines ranged from a wheezy Volkswagen and Simca 4-cylinders to Chrysler's homegrown 2.2-liter. Nothing fancy, until Carroll Shelby said, "Hold my turbo." In 1978, an Omni or Horizon started at just $4,275. That's about $20,600 today. Affordable enough that even your cousin working at Radio Shack could afford one, and he probably did. Engines was a VW-sourced 1.7-liter single overhead cam 4, 70 horsepower, 92 pounds of torque, but it used a Chrysler design intake and carb. This was because Chrysler didn't have the capability to manufacture their own 4 yet, and the Simca versions in Europe had even smaller engines, if you could believe it. That just wouldn't fly in America. Transmissions was a VW-sourced 4-speed manual or Chrysler 3-speed TorqueFlite Auto. Curb weight was around 2,150 pounds. Brakes, front discs, rear drums. McPherson struts, torsion beam rear. Sales the first year was about $176,000 for both. Choosing a Plymouth or Dodge Badge 1 was more a matter of which emblem on the grille you preferred. Also, for '78, Superman flew into theaters. He was faster than a speeding bullet. The Omni was barely faster than a speeding shopping cart. For '79, carburetors were refined, still cranky in the winter though. Better interior sealing, minor trim changes. Sales were now around $258,000. The second oil crisis certainly helped with that. The Muppet movie also came out in '79. Fozzie drove a Studebaker. If he had picked an Omni, the road trip probably would have ended by Nebraska. Meanwhile, Dodge and Plymouth get a couple 2-door hatchback cousins joining the lineup that used the same platform. The Dodge version was an Omni 024, and Plymouth's called a Horizon TC3. Same engines, less practical, and sales always stayed in the Horizon and Omni shadow. Chrysler looked at the VW Rabbit for inspiration for the Omni, and it appeared these coupes was a domestic take on the Scirocco. 1980 didn't have many changes to chat about. Sales was about $264,000 combined. The Empire Strikes Back came out that year too. Vader revealed he was Luke's father. Chrysler revealed it could build a 4-cylinder engine that didn't belong to VW that was coming soon. For '81, there was a facelift, new grille, and a revised dash. Chrysler introduced its own 2.2-liter inline-4 with 84 ponies and 111 pounds of torque as a larger engine option over the standard VW-sourced one. These would be under the hood of the all-new larger K-Car models that arrived this model year 2. The highly successful K-Car platform owed a lot to the little Omni and Horizon, as they were, from a mechanical standpoint, basically supersized versions of the L platform. The upcoming minivan and sporty Laser and Daytona models would also become a beneficiary of the little Omnis. Bet Chrysler didn't realize in the 70s, when they sold off Chrysler Europe, that this would be the beginning of a successful decade thanks to these little cars. Anyway, 2.2-liter models had a 4-speed manual standard, but fourth was an overdrive gear. There was also a decontented Miser version that used the smaller engine in this transmission too, for those seeking the thrills of great gas mileage and not much else. More emissions equipment reduced power this model year on the base VW engine to the high 60s. Weight went up slightly, now it's around 2,250 pounds, thanks to stronger bumpers and door beams. Sales, about 255,000 Omnis and Horizons. The two-door coupes lose either the Omni or Horizon part of their names, called just an 024 or TC3, depending on which badge was slapped on it. They had the new 2.2-liter engine available too, and in the case of foreshadowing, the 024 version had a Charger 2.2 package available, and the TC3 had a similar Turismo package upgrade. Besides lower gearing and sport touches like a hood scoop and spoiler, there wasn't a muffler, giving them a Fast and the Furious sound a few decades early. I'm sure your neighbors were pleased when you came home at 2 a.m. with one. Also in 81, there was Raiders of the Lost Ark. Indy ran from a boulder. These cars' drivers ran from rust. For 82, new electronic feedback carburetors. Translation: an early computer making bad decisions. There's beefier side impact protection, fuel economy tweaks, EPA ratings up to 25 city and 37 highway with the 1.7-liter. Looking at VW again for inspiration, the Dodge Rampage debuts. It shared the front-end styling of the 024, but the party trick was it had a bed. Its capacity was high enough to consider it a true half-ton too. Rampage only came with the larger 2.2-liter engine, and it was front-wheel drive, like all the other L-body cars. It had a beefier rear suspension to do some truck-like stuff. Sales was about 130,000 for Omnis and the Horizons. ET wanted a phone home, but Omni drivers just wanted their mechanic's number. For 83, you had 3 engines to choose from in Omni and Horizon now. A new to us Simca design and Peugeot built 1.6-liter with 62 horsepower is now available. This was on base cars, came in manual only, and cranked down all the windows in summer as air conditioning was not even an option with it. The slightly more powerful VW engine is on its last year, and the Chrysler 2.2 remains the top choice. 5-speed manuals are now available on some models and trims. All 024 models are now called Chargers, and the TC3s are now a Turismo. Plymouth gets its own version of the Rampage called a Scamp. Not many bought the Rampage, and even less wanted a Scamp version, so it became a one-year-only vehicle. Only 3,564 were made. Sales about 130,000 Omnis and Horizons. The movie The Christmas Story came out for 83. Ralphie wanted a BB gun, but these buyers just wanted horsepower. Fortunately, Santa was coming soon for both of them. For 1984, the Omni GLH was introduced. Carroll Shelby tuned it. If you don't know, GLH stood for Goes Like Hell. Had a 2.2-liter high-output engine with 107 horsepower. Stiffer suspension, alloy wheels, close ratio 5-speed, more aggressively styled Charger version was also available with the same mechanicals. Regular Charger, Turismo, and the Rampage get a new quad headlight front end, but Mr. Shelby preferred just having 2. The quad headlight Rampage will make spotting an 84 one easy, as they went away after this year. Four-wheel drive and extended cab popularity with small trucks left the Rampage without many buyers. Standard Omni gets improved interior fabrics. Chrysler had thoughts on a Peugeot 1.9-liter diesel as an option, but GM's early 80s diesel nightmares killed that idea. In hindsight, it was a good move, as no domestic car by the mid-80s was selling well with one under the hood. Gas was cheaper too, so the extra MPG and the smell just wasn't worth it. All the L-bodies now had a 5-speed manual standard. Sales was about 200,000, considering Omnis and Horizons. The Karate Kid came out in '84. Mr. Miyagi said, wax on, wax off. Omni owners said, rust on, rust everywhere. For '85, we start getting some nastier cars. The GLH Turbo debuts. This had a turbocharged 2.2-liter with 146 horsepower and 170 pounds of torque. 0 to 60 was about 8.1 seconds. Available as a Shelby Charger, too. Last year's non-turbo Shelby Charger basically becomes available as a Plymouth Turismo Duster. Regular Chargers and Turismos could order the 107-horse engine, and this would be the last year for the high-output version. Sales is about 215,000 Omnis and Horizons. For '86, the GLHS debuts, meaning goes like hell some more. This had a Turbo 2 2.2-liter, rated at 175 horsepower and 175 pounds of torque. Had a Coney suspension, upgraded brakes. 0 to 60 was down to 6.7 seconds. That was faster than a Mustang GT, and it started at $11,000 or about $32,500 today. Were they rare? Yeah, as only 500 Shelby Omni GLHSs were made. In much less exciting Omni and Horizon news, the French-built 1.6-liter base engine departs after this year. Regular Omnis with the 2.2-liter get a horsepower bump to 93. Sales was just over 200,000 Omnis and Horizons. For '87, the new Dodge Shadow and Plymouth Sundance was introduced. Omni was demoted to a budget car, and Lee Iacocca created an American edition to compete with the new cheap kids on the block, the Hyundai Excel and Yugo. Standard equipment was actually increased, and the price dropped to $5,500. They accomplished this with a combination of reduced options available, negotiated lowering the profits that the UAW dealers and suppliers would get, plus the state of Illinois kicked in some concessions, which is where the vehicles were produced. Otherwise, Omni and Horizon are only available as affordable economy cars again, as the Shadow and Sundance get the turbo-powered fun optionally now. Safety-wise, there was laminated safety glass and improved seat belts. Power was a 93-horse 2.2-liter, and this is the new standard with the French engine gone. Sales was around 169,000 Omnis and Horizons. Charger and the Turismo are on their final year. Shelby gets hold of some, and 1,001 146-horse Shelby Charger turbos were produced. 1,000 of the last Chargers made were modified at Shelby facility in California and became the 175-horsepower Charger GLHS, following in the footsteps of last year's Omni version. The Simpsons also debuted in '87. Homer probably drove an Omni, underpowered, clunky, but lovable. For '88, there was simplifying of the trims. Chrysler was cutting costs. Fuel injection was now on all models, and horsepower creeps up to 96. Average curb weight was about 2,350 pounds. Sales is about 120,000 of the Horizons and Omnis. They are showing their age by this point. In the movie Beetlejuice, which also debuted for '88, Omni's interiors squeaked so much they basically said his name 3 times on their own. For '89, the budget-busting America edition was on its final year. Like all these cars before, air conditioning was optional, while roll-up windows were standard. Sales was about 75,000 for all of them. Seinfeld premiered this year. Much like the Omni, it was a show about nothing. Now, 1990 would be this car's final year. Driver's airbag became standard, making it one of the cheapest cars with one. It was either that or install automatic seat belts. They also got different mirrors borrowed from the now departed M-body vehicles. Rear outboard shoulder belts were installed as they were now mandated, and the dash got a few changes. This marks the end of production, with around 32,000 of both sold. The Plymouth version actually outsold the Dodge in total production. We're talking about 2.2 million L-body models being produced during their lifespan. That's not bad. So that's the tale of the Dodge Omni and Plymouth Horizon. A car born in France, raised in Detroit, and remembered as both a rental car punchline and the foundation for Shelby's hot hatches. It was boxy, it was basic, but it kept Chrysler alive long enough to bring us minivans and more questionable ideas in the 1990s. The Omni and Horizon may be gone, but its square spirit lives on, mostly in junkyards, occasionally on Bring a Trailer, and always in the hearts of people who believe anything can go like hell with enough boost. Hope you enjoyed this one, and thanks for watching. Till next time, I'll be keeping the headlights on for you, and chatter out.